Doubt may drift across the horizon like low clouds, whispering that the coming hours hinge on your own relentless pacing. Yet have you noticed how the world softens before sunrise, inviting stillness to awaken your listening soul? In that tender hush, the first birdsong seems to carry a promise of peace meant to interrupt every hurried scheme. It is as if the eternal refuge himself leans close, ready to receive each yielded intention, breathe guidance into the paths ahead, lend courage to every obedient step, and wrap the entire day in restful assurance. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you. See Isaiah 26:3. Peace is not the absence of activity, but the presence of his unwavering care. Let these words settle inside like dawn's first light, persuading you that trust is stronger than turmoil. What anxious detail can you place in his hands right now? Which hidden desire longs to surface and be surrendered? The first pale wash of morning brushes your window, and you sense creation holding its breath. In that soft inhale, you discover how silence becomes a sacred tutor. You choose not to reach for the glowing screen or the waiting agenda, but to notice your own breathing, rising and falling like gentle waves against an unseen shore. Each exhale releases the residue of yesterday's urgency. Each inhale welcomes the whisper that you are already loved before achieving a single task. Slowly, the chorus of sparrows crescendos. Yet their melody does not shatter tranquility. It frames it, teaching that praise can be light enough to rest upon fragile branches. You sit, spine lengthening, shoulders softening, and feel the subtle tension between stillness and the pull of motion. In that tension, divine invitation echoes. Be still and know that I am God. So Psalm 460 antenna, stillness is not stagnation. It is a deliberate pause that enlarges your capacity to recognize his nearness. Knowing him begins where frantic striving ends. You allow the verse to settle deeper than muscle or bone, into the quiet chamber where motives hide. Every plan crouching there loosens its grip, waiting for the nod from heaven before it leaps into the day. Minutes slide past without clamor, and you realize how loudly inner dialogue can roar when left unchecked. Yet the Holy Spirit moves like dawn mist, cooling overheated thoughts, dampening the spark of fear before it ignites. You imagine your mind as a garden at daybreak dew, kissed petals, paths yet untrodden, and the gardener already present, pruning distractions. What will you hand him first? The thorn of regret, the choking vine of comparison. He awaits with gentle shears, never wasting a single surrendered fragment. Notice how the light climbs the wall, illuminating dust motes that dance without hurry. They remind you that even unseen particles respond to illumination. So too your hidden motives shimmer when exposed to truth. Whisper gratitude for small mercies, the steady pulse in your wrist, the gift of oxygen, the promise that mercy will not run out by noon. Gratitude keeps your senses awake, guarding the fragile hush from being trampled by complaint. Morning by morning he wakens, to listen like one being instructed. See Isaiah 50:4. Within that awakening, you become both student and beloved child, trained to hear nuance in your Father's voice and to trust his cadence more than your own pacing. As this quiet dialogue lingers, you sense subtle courage blooming, not the kind that charges forward noisily, but a calm resolve that need not advertise itself. You rise slowly, feet touching the floor, as if stepping onto holy ground. Plans have not vanished. They have merely bowed to presence. The door of the day swings open on well-oiled hinges, and you walk through carrying stillness like a hidden candle, prepared to relight it whenever wind threatens. You rise into the hallway of the morning and almost reach for yesterday's checklist when the hush you carried from stillness slips ahead of you like a gentle hand raised for silence. Instantly the thrum of urgency falters. In that pause, you notice how the amber edge of sunlight creeps across the floorboards, interrupting shadows with quiet brilliance, and you sense the spirit arranging similar shafts of calm across every crowded corner of the day. One by one, appointments, notifications, and expectations line up like restless travelers at a customs gate, each waiting for the stamp of divine approval before they cross into your attention. Instead of hurrying them through, you invite the King of Peace to inspect each motive, each timeline, each promise you have made to others or yourself. The kettle hums, and even its steady rhythm feels slower, more deliberate. You pour, watch steam curl upward, and imagine your thoughts rising likewise, vapors surrendered to a sky vast enough to hold them. My peace I give you, I do not give to you as the world gives. Sir John 14:27. Worldly calm depends on circumstance. Christ's gift infiltrates circumstance and transforms it from the core outward. Let that declaration seep into your bones. Serenity bestowed, not earned. What then can truly rattle you if peace is an inheritance rather than a reward? You turn to the window as a breeze lifts sheer curtains, and the sudden motion startles a small finch perched on the ledge. The bird flutters, reorients, then settles again, its brief alarm replaced by practiced trust in the air that carries it. So also interruptions often feel like disturbance until you remember who authors them. A delayed train, a last-minute request, an unexpected conversation, each can become a doorway for grace to enter precisely where rigid efficiency once reigned. You begin to view disruptions not as threats, but as invitations to lean harder into guidance. The habit of pausing before reacting becomes a liturgy. Inhale presence, exhale impatience. Soon you gather your tools for the day: laptop, keys, folded list, yet you hold them loosely, aware that schedule is clay still soft beneath the potter's hand. Tasks remain vital, but they no longer dictate your identity. They merely demonstrate stewardship of time entrusted to you. When a memory of past failure flickers, you let it surface without protest, then watch it dissolve into the broader canvas of mercy. Failure cannot anchor where forgiveness flows continually. As you step outside, traffic murmurs in the distance, its rhythm syncopated yet constant. You join that current with measured stride, picturing peace as an invisible mantle draped over your shoulders, muting blaring horns, softening sharp words before they escape your lips. The smile you offer a hurried stranger becomes a ripple of tranquility traveling beyond your view. Even emails drafted later will carry the fragrance of this morning's calm, because content shaped in serenity resists contagious anxiety. Interruptions will surely come. They always do. Yet each will arrive like a bell, calling you back to awareness of God's nearness. When plans splinter, you will remember the finch that found its perch again, the steam that rose unafraid to disappear, the verse that promised peace, unlike any earthly metric. and in every unplanned moment, you will sense the deliberate heartbeat of heaven, steady beneath the clamor, inviting you to tune your pulse to its tempo. You pause at the threshold of your workspace, sensing that the sacred hush from earlier still lingers like incense on your clothes. It reminds you that the next step is not to conquer the day, but to consecrate it. One by one, you spread your plans before heaven the way a cartographer unfurls maps. Each project, meeting, and hidden ambition laid flat for inspection. In the soft morning light, tasks appear less like immovable obligations and more like puzzle pieces awaiting the master's arrangement. You notice which pieces pulse with excitement, which feel heavy with ego, and which were slipped in by others' expectations. Rather than rushing to assemble them, you breathe and let God's peace settle over the mosaic, trusting He sees the whole picture you cannot. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. Proverbs 16:3. When plans find their origin in His wisdom, they flourish beyond your limited foresight. Let this line dismantle any notion that surrender equals passivity. It is alignment with eternal purpose. You feel a quiet realignment happening inside, like a compass needle freed from static interference. Motives you thought were pure reveal faint traces of self, promotion, dreams you nearly dismissed as impossible now glow with renewed possibility. Surrender sharpens discernment, enabling you to name the difference between divine prompting and mere impulse. The Spirit's voice often arrives as a gentle nudge rather than a booming directive, and you train your ear to that subtle cadence, a lingering phrase in Scripture, a persistent compassion for a colleague, an unexpected surge of creativity that refuses to fade. Each whisper becomes a signpost pointing you toward choices worth your energy. Outside, the sky shifts from coral to pale gold, signaling that time is moving forward, yet you refuse to let momentum bully discernment. You draft a short list titled Held Lightly, placing beside each item a simple prayer: shape this as you will. You acknowledge resources, time, talent, finances, as gifts on loan, stewarded not owned. This mindset loosens your grip. If plans alter, you will adjust rather than fracture. It also births resilience. Surrendered agendas bend where rigid ones break. You practice yielding in small gestures, trusting they prepare you for larger obediences. You silence alerts during a conversation so you can offer undivided attention. You add margin between meetings, believing miracles need breathing room. You choose gentle words in an email, valuing relationship over being right. These actions seem minor, yet each is a seed of peace that will germinate in unseen soil. Over days, they sprout into a lifestyle where interruption no longer triggers irritation but curiosity. What might God be orchestrating here? As the morning advances, you sense uncommon confidence, paradoxically born from relinquishing control. You walk into assignments with a posture of collaboration rather than conquest, expecting God to weave outcomes beyond metrics you can track. Should a door close, you will not panic. Closed doors can redirect you toward corridors of greater impact. Should a new opportunity emerge, you will not hesitate. Readiness is the fruit of continuous surrender. Finally, you close your journal, feeling the weight of ambition replaced by buoyancy. Today's agenda still exists, yet it now resembles a sail rather than an anchor, catching the breath of the Spirit, moving you at a pace he determines. With every step you carry the quiet assurance that yielded intentions are never wasted. They are reformed into stories that outlive the urgency of a single sunrise. You step into the widening light and realize the world resembles a vast footpath veined with possibilities. Morning breeze presses against your cheeks like a gentle compass, steering you toward choices that harmonize with heaven's score. The peace you welcomed earlier now stretches forward, becoming a quiet river whose current you can trust, even when bends hide what lies beyond. You sense promptings as subtle as a leaf's quiver. Turn here, pause there, wait for the slower traveler, each nudge forming an invisible braid between divine wisdom and human motion. A sudden glint catches your eye, sunbeams scattered on dew, slick stones, illuminating safe footholds while shading the loose ones. In the same way, guidance often arrives as differential clarity. Some options brighten with ease, while others dull under scrutiny. You resist the instinct to question every glow, choosing instead to walk the illuminated line until fresh light appears. This patient walking unfolds like a conversation. Your obedience speaks. God answers with more direction. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light on my path. Psalm 19:105. Notice the order. Lamp for feet first, then light for path. Illumination begins with the next step, not the entire route. Trust that incremental clarity protects you from the illusion of self-sufficiency. Soon you approach the day's first crossroads, competing assignments, overlapping requests, a surprise invitation. Rather than weighing solely by convenience or prestige, you weigh by resonance. Does peace swell or shrink when you imagine saying yes? You also recall yesterday's themes of yielding and interruption. The path God highlights may challenge efficiency, yet enlarge faith. If a once attractive door now feels strangely heavy, you release the handle. If a small opportunity pulses with quiet excitement, you lean in. Believing mustard seed beginnings often precede mountain-moving outcomes. As traffic hums and conversations begin, you walk with ears attuned to back-channel whispers of the spirit. Guidance is rarely shouted. It resembles birdsong weaving through urban noise, audible only to those who pause mid-stride. You practice small pauses, before replying, before committing, before worrying, miniature Sabbaths planted within the workday. Each pause returns your heart to alignment, preventing ambition from outrunning grace. Mid-morning brings an obstacle, a delayed shipment, a miscommunication, a sudden criticism. For a moment, the path seems blocked by brambles of frustration, yet you remember the keeper of ways neither slumbers nor abandons. You breathe, look again, and notice a narrow passage skirting the obstruction. Sometimes guidance does not remove difficulty, but reveals creative detours that cultivate resilience. You take the lesser-known lane, trusting the shepherd to merge you back onto your intended course in due time. By noon the sun stands high and shadows shorten, mirroring how uncertainty diminishes when every segment of the journey has been entrusted. You glance behind, not to dwell in nostalgia, but to trace the subtle geometry of divine choreography, each hinge of decision, each intersection of mercy, each surprising companionship planted along the trail. Gratitude rises, not as sentimental warmth, but as clear evidence that unseen hands have truly charted your steps. The afternoon breeze cools, and you feel invitation to rest before pressing on. Guidance includes boundaries. The one who leads also instructs when to slow, hydrate, recalibrate. You find a quiet corner, close your eyes, and feel the map inside your spirit realign once more. The path ahead remains spacious, edged with possibility, and you carry assurance that tomorrow's course will unveil beneath the same faithful light. Peace settles over your shoulders like morning sunlight. But its purpose is not to keep you stationary. It charges you with silent bravery. You leave the shelter of contemplation and move into the wider world where decisions breathe and consequences echo. With each stride, you sense internal steadiness forging external momentum. Confidence rooted not in flawless plans, but in the presence that authored them. When obstacles loom, you spare no energy on fretful forecasting. Instead, you study the landscape, locate the next wise step, and take it. Boldness, you discover, seldom announces itself with thunder. It slips in quietly, clothed in acts of everyday faithfulness, speaking truth with gentleness, choosing integrity when shortcuts glimmer, offering assistance before being asked. A colleague's resignation surfaces unexpected tension, and whispers of blame float through the office hallway. You gather your courage, invite the team into a circle of honesty, and frame the upheaval as shared opportunity rather than threat. Your tone steadies the room. Peaceful conviction proves more transformative than volume. Later, a friend texts a confession of anxiety. Instead of dispatching a quick "cliché," you pause, draft words heavy with empathy, and carve time to call. Compassion becomes courage when it demands your schedule. You press send on a proposal that took weeks to refine, aware it may be critiqued or delayed. Yet vulnerability feels less risky now that your worth resides beyond outcomes. Should rejection come, you will adjust course without self-reproach, confident that closed paths redirect rather than define. Meeting after meeting, you lean into attentive stillness before speaking. That heartbeat of silence inoculates your words against rashness, allowing them to land like measured rain rather than flash flood. Courage also appears in restraint. Midday news scrolls across your screen, carrying outrage that begs for instant reaction. You inhale, remember the river of peace, and let the current carry the impulse downstream. Instead of reposting anger, you search for tangible ways to mend. Maybe it is a donation, a letter, or a prayer whispered under breath while walking to lunch. Your influence multiplies precisely because it does not mirror the chaos it confronts. By late afternoon, fatigue tests resolve. Habit might lure you into autopilot, yet you catch the drift and steer back toward intention. A stretch by an open window, a glass of water, a silent acknowledgement of gratitude for the breath that fuels perseverance. You recognize that endurance itself is a courageous act, refusing both burnout and complacency. Small recalibrations preserve strength for moments that demand larger leaps. Evening shadows arrive, stretching long across sidewalks. You reflect on the subtle victories. Temper stilled, apology offered, creative idea shared without fear of theft. None made headlines, yet heaven recorded every quiet triumph. Peace did more than cushion you. It propelled you into arenas where risk and redemption coexist. Tomorrow will hold fresh unknowns, but you will meet them with the same inward steadiness, knowing that divine interruption has already prepared the way. Even as morning advances, you invite the end of the day into view, letting its promised hush steady your present stride. You picture tonight's sky, already unfurling a quilt of stars, each a silent witness that faithful love has shepherded you from dawn to dusk. This forward-looking peace is not denial of challenges still unfolding. It is confidence that nothing arriving later can outrun the grace planted earlier. With each task you close, you gently seal it with gratitude instead of perfection, trusting that excellence grows strongest in soil watered by contentment. If a conversation lingers unresolved, you leave space for fresh insight rather than forcing conclusion, believing wisdom matures when pressed but not rushed. Mid-afternoon finds you coordinating details, yet beneath every calculation beats a slower tempo, the subtle rhythm of assurance reminding you that outcomes, however crucial, remain secondary to integrity. When a sudden error surfaces, panic knocks, but you choose the quieter door where humility resides. You acknowledge the mistake, propose solutions, and watch tension loosen its grip. This courage to disclose without shame becomes a soft mattress for the night ahead. Hidden faults harden hearts, but honest confession cushions them. Later, as shadows lengthen, you gather loose ends, sending final messages, arranging tomorrow's priorities, wiping down a workspace still warm from creativity. You pause to note 3 mercies that colored the hours, perhaps laughter that diffused conflict, insight granted during a commute, or the simple resilience of your body carrying you through tasks. Naming blessings turns memory into a sanctuary. Recollection of good gifts fortifies you against nocturnal worry. While preparing an evening meal, aromas rise like incense, announcing rest's approach. You taste flavors more intentionally, aware that nourishment extends beyond calories to include beauty and fellowship. Even if you dine alone, you are not isolated. The presence that charted your steps fills the room, illuminating solitude with communion. Peace interrupts stray concerns about tomorrow, whispering that preparation and trust are not competitors but companions. As night fully arrives, you dim lights and let the quiet return, not as empty silence, but as a sacred echo of the morning's stillness. You picture your mind as a harbor where boats of unfinished thoughts drift safely until dawn, guarded by a watchman who never sleeps. You slip under covers, breathing deeper, releasing control of systems that will keep spinning without your supervision. Muscles loosen, jaw unclenches, and the heartbeat that powered action now slows into rhythmic worship. You whisper thanks and feel serenity settle like dew, sealing the day in gentle moisture that will glisten when tomorrow's light appears. Every interruption, yielded intention, guided choice, and courageous act converges here, forming a tapestry of trust that wraps around you more surely than blankets. And as eyelids grow heavy, you know peace has not merely interrupted your plans. It has rewritten them, anchoring each hour in a love vast enough to cradle your dreams until the next sunrise. You began with clouds of uncertainty, yet light seeped through every crack you offered. Stillness became your tutor, interruptions your invitations, surrender your compass, guidance your map, courage your engine, and assurance your gentle nightlight. Carry this pattern forward, pause, invite, yield, listen, act, rest. Let gratitude bookmark each chapter, and let compassion spill from the margins onto every soul you meet. If peace steadied you once, it will steady you again. Its river never runs dry. Now breathe deeply, receive the day, and whisper, "All is held.